insanity is doing the same thing over and over and expecting different results. It sounds crazy that biology works like this. This micromanaging from your subconscious mind is like ruining your life and the things that you want to achieve. Let's talk about limiting beliefs. This is one of the biggest killers of any success in any area of your life. So let's dig a little bit deeper. What is a limiting belief? It's basically a decision that you've made in some point of your life and you accepted it as truth, and after that your ego has kind of protected and justified all the external signs for this to be true. And the more proof you get from the external world, the bigger the wiring in your brain gets. So if you've been told that you can't do stuff, or you're not good looking, or you're this or that when you were growing up, you kind of accept this as a truth because of the external world. But does it necessarily mean that it's true? No, because it only matters what value you give to the situation and the thing, the experience. So if you at one point in your life was able to make a decision about something that you're unworthy or that you're not good enough, the good thing is that you can make a decision again. And that's how you can start to reprogram your mind. And most people think when you say that, yeah, you should reprogram your mind, they're like, oh, why would I do that? They get this Frankenstein idea and they get this feeling of like, okay, you're trying to manipulate me to something, you're trying to brainwash me. But the reality is that the external world, the media, the school system, the whole kind of corporate structure, that is the brainwashing we need to kind of get rid of, because we're so used to how things are that we fail to kind of see that things are that way because we believe in that way. And this is how you can start to kind of change. And I have this concept of the creation. And in my concept, it starts with the belief. And then the belief influences a thought. And the thought triggers an emotion. And that emotion triggers an action. That action will then give you a result. That the result then reinforces the belief. And this cycle goes on and on and on. And the more we repeat this cycle, the stronger the connection in our brain becomes of that particular belief. So the good thing here is that we can at any point in our life start to change this again. So whatever has happened in the past and whatever you've been taught to be true and that you believe, you can rewire it. But the first thing is that we need to identify that we even have a limiting belief. And according to a lot of different studies that I found, around 60 to 80% of people don't even realize that they have limiting beliefs. And on top of that, most people aren't aware or know how to change that. And I thought this was really interesting, and I honestly believe that the world needs more of this kind of information, how you can actually change your brain. And in the past, it was thought that the brain is fixed. It was like the narrative, the common narrative was that once you've learned a certain amount of information and once you get to a certain age, your kind of brain dumps down and just stays the way it is. But now, like neuroscience and science in general have proven that there's a thing called neuroplasticity, that you can actually kind of unplug the old wiring in your brain and make new wiring. So this process of reality creation that I just told you about is actually the way you can take control of your own life and start changing all these beliefs. And this can have massive impact. It's not just like on business or like monetary success. It has to do with your relationships, your relationship with yourself, how other people see you, and so on. It's like the root cause for most of the problems are limiting beliefs. The root cause why people kind of freeze and just aren't able to do anything is because of some limiting belief that triggers some thoughts, that then triggers an emotion that's kind of crippling, and it's like, yo, I have this fear, I can't do that, I'm not worthy of this, I'm not good at this, or some other thing, and that kind of gives you the results of not achieving anything, and that reinforces the belief of, wow, you're not worthy, oh, you're a loser, whatever, and this is how the negative loop kind of goes on. And I know I've been in this negative loop for many years, and I still go into that loop sometimes. And it's like really difficult to kind of get yourself out of it if you don't have any tools. And I actually created a framework for this and a system how you can rewire your brain bit by bit every time you get this lower feeling of vibration and emotional level. You can kind of prove to yourself and prove to your own mind that you actually are way better. Because if you are in this low mood and low level, you aren't capable of doing anything great. You aren't capable of achieving your dream life. And I think that's the purpose with life, to go after our dreams and realize as much we can. So if you're interested, I created a project with 101 limiting beliefs examples and all kinds of information about how they're formed and how you can really change it with this IDPR framework that I've made. There's a link in description. You can get it for free, and I just want to share this with the world, so feel free to check that out. But so I'm just going to share a little bit of the process that's also in this framework. And I felt so shit. I felt so down and so beaten up because of my business didn't work out, and I felt like my relationships are just like totally off. And I thought that the answer is gonna come from the outside. I thought that, yeah, when I get to surfing, I'm gonna be happy again. Or when I make a little bit of money, I'm gonna be happy. Or when I do this or that and whatever. Well, it didn't actually work out like that. So I found a mentor who's taught me a lot about these limiting beliefs and how your brain kind of sabotages the actions your conscious mind tried to do. Let's say that you have a desire to become a really good writer, but you have this idea that your sister or brother, when you were growing up, they were always a better writer than you. So you were kind of the family's like bad writer. And this belief is still in your subconscious mind. So even when you try to go and become a great writer, you buy the courses, you read the frameworks, you do all this kind of stuff, it still doesn't work out. And this is because your limiting belief that lives in your subconscious, that your conscious mind can't access directly, is kind of micromanaging you. And it steers you in like different directions of like, yeah, okay, so yeah, maybe I should do it like this. And then there's a like internal like, yeah, but then maybe you do it like that. And then you kind of just mess it up. And it's kind of crazy how humans are wired. And there's a reason for this, and I'll explain that soon. But this micromanaging from your subconscious mind is like ruining your life and the things that you want to achieve. And this is kind of this, like, it sounds crazy that biology works like this, but the reason why it works like this is because when we lived in the forest like thousands of years ago, the environment didn't change. It was the same thing. It was the same hunting habits. It was the same kind of gathering habits of berries and nuts and so on. So it was really beneficial to teach the young all these concepts and how things work, and they got the beliefs like, okay, you have trust that, don't trust that, okay, try to become better at this and don't bother doing that. And it worked really well because the world stays the same and the kind of environment and the society stays the same. But the problem occurs in the modern world where most of us kind of live in this safe environment. There's not many threats. There's not like real life dangers on a daily basis from like bears and other things in the forest. So our system is kind of outdated. And also because of our like revolution in the technology the last 20 years, the world is totally different now than when I was a child. It's like 30 years ago, the things that my mom taught me and what she thought was true and that she believed in, they don't necessarily help me at all in this modern environment. So I've had this major work inside of myself, and it's like, wow. And the more I do this work, the more I use this framework and the framework is like, you have to identify, that's the first. You have to become aware of a limiting belief. And then you kind of have to make a new decision. You have to choose a different truth. And once you've done that, and it's usually some kind of opposite of the limiting belief, then you need to find proof. And the proof is kind of, you have to find it from your own life, because you and your mind have to believe that this new statement is actually true. And that's when the old wiring kind of starts to let go, and then you start rewiring to a new one. The fourth step in this process is reinforcing with an action. So you plan an action that you're gonna do that aligns with this new decision. And this is gonna be like the kind of the hammer, the nail, and kind of get this new connection really attached. The issue with this concept is that people aren't that kind of persistent, and they aren't that they're not willing to wait. They're kind of like this I don't remember the word, but it's like impatient. You're not patient enough. So you kind of go through this and you're powerful a week. You kind of stay in this new empowered decision and you feel good. You're like, yeah, now I'm a good writer. Now I'm a good writer. And then something negative happens in your life and it's like, damn, I'm the bad writer again. I'm the bad writer once again. Because any new belief is similar to a new habit. And it's said that a habit takes like 21 days to kind of go on. I have a video about how to kind of create the habits and make new ones if you want to check it out. But so it's gonna be like 21 to 30 days to really unwire and rewire the new one. And this is the tricky part, because most people, we live in this instant gratification world, and 21 days or 30 days, that's like, it's a bit too long, because, you know, I want to do this stuff and I don't have time for that. And that's what I realized. many people don't have the patience and the will to actually go through this. But the price of not starting to do this kind of work, this internal work, is that you're gonna go the same cycle over and over again that you've lived up until now, because you live according to the same belief systems. And this is just like insanity. And there's a quote from Albert Einstein, I think. It's like, insanity is doing the same thing over and over and expecting different results. And I feel so guilty about this. I've done this, like it's like I almost feel like ashamed of this to admit that I've had these same lessons and same things so many times in my life, just over and over again, and I just can't figure out why. But now, when I found out this limiting belief and your belief systems in the subconscious mind, that's when something clicked. It was like, oh, this is deep enough. This is the root cause why I'm going this circle. And that's the whole, like, I'm building my whole business, my coaching business around this, because I think it's so profound and it can really change people's life for good. Because once you learn to rewire your own limiting belief, and you can kind of wire in the new empowered decision, that makes you a positive person. It makes you a person who feels good. And that's what the world needs. Because let's be honest, like, all the media, all these things, they are just fear-based. They're trying to keep us in this kind of lower level of emotions and be fear-based. And that's why they're like, money is never gonna be enough. There's not gonna be enough food. You can't use that. There's not gonna be enough. But has something ever really run out? Like, for real? In the modern world? Like, the shops and the stores, they're just like so full of stuff. So reality is that there's like abundance, and like there's so much of stuff and money and everything all around us. Like, food is rotting and being thrown away because there's just too much of it. How can we still have this programming in our mind that there's not enough? We need to worry, we need to save, we need to do this and that, because it's all according to plan. It's according to keeping people in fear, because people who are in fear are much easier to control. And what's the best way to make money? It's to control people. What's the best way to get power? To have the control of the people, have control over the food, over the water, over people's emotions. That's like, wow. And if we find a way, like individual people, to empower ourselves, that's like the biggest threat for all these big systems and all of this, because it means that people start to feel good. What happens when people start to feel good? They start to think again, and they start to question, like, wow, how is this society working again? Why is these corporations running everything? Like, what are these politicians doing? What? And this is when the world changes. And like, I'm seeing this change already, and I want to be with these people who are taking people to this new world, because let's face it, the old world didn't really work that well anymore, and more corruption and manipulation and all these things just come up. It's like even this, you know, this virus thing, I don't even want to say it because it was such a joke. Like, do you still believe these old things, systems, old beliefs? And once you open up to this, and like this has to do with like this spiritual awakening and kind of realizing that you are the creator of this infinite field of possibilities. And when you start to question things and you're like, okay, you find one limiting belief, you're like, okay, but if there's one, there must be two, and how many can you find? And that's like the reason I made this free product that has like 9 core limiting beliefs, but also a list of like 101 limiting beliefs that when you go through it, when you read through it, you're gonna be like, oh my God, like there's so many that applies. And probably some people are gonna be like, that's not for me, like I don't have that, like I'm perfect. And if you say that, I doubt it that you're perfect, because okay, you can be perfect, but everyone is perfect as imperfect people. And those who say that they don't have any limiting beliefs, okay, fine, but I know I have a lot of limiting beliefs, and I know I've seen a lot of people who struggle and say that they're fine, that they don't have, and I can spot so many limiting beliefs from like really far away. It's like, why didn't you sell that person? Why didn't you build that product? Why didn't you launch that thing you had in your mind, your idea? So limiting beliefs is nothing but a kind of false sense of self, false sense of your true power. Because once you start to kind of open these up and you start to going through this process of proving your old self wrong, you start to become powerful. And people around you who don't want you to be powerful, they will probably get triggered, because that proves that they were kind of using you to their benefit. Because, you know, it's this hierarchy. Yeah, the stronger use the weaker. But once the weaker gets stronger, the people on top, they start being like, wow, what's happening? This is not normal. I don't like this. I don't like this. And this is what's happening. And I don't believe like in these really strict hierarchies, and that we need to be like, you know, this, we need to have a president and we need to have this. I think there needs to be some kind of structure to keep these millions of people in a kind of safe environment and be loving to each other. But the system that we have now, and I'm from Finland, and it's like there's so many rules and shit, and there's like the government is like the unemployment thing, they gave out money, and what happens with that? People just start using it even more, and it's like the corruption is just like, it's not corrupted because people just like go behind these closed doors. So it's just like not visible corruption. So is that better? No. And in all these systems, the governments, they don't really work. And the school system, that don't really work. Like homeschooling is exploding, and these kids and these families, they feel so well. Like we're in that mentality to homeschooling, because like, why would you go to a school system that teaches you to be a factory worker or something like that? It's not supposed to really empower people. If it really was that, then they would teach about economics and spirituality and energy and all these like advanced information that most people don't even want to accept, because they're in this cocoon, familiar state of their own little bubble. And if someone threats that bubble, that they get triggered, and they're like, no, it's not like that. My religion is right. My president is right. But it's like, what? And then the next president comes, and then the next thing comes, and then like all these like media exposure of all these corrupt things, and you're still, oh, no, there must be something wrong here. So yeah, That's like limiting beliefs. I'm gonna make way more videos about this topic because I feel like this is something that the world really needs and the people need, because we need empowered people. We need happy people. We need people who are in a joyful state, because that's gonna be better for everyone. So that's the whole point with this whole system that I created, IDPR. It's like when you are in a low level of mood, you can raise yourself into a better level, into a more positive state. And that's gonna be the ultimate tool for you to use to improve your life, improve the life of the people around you. And this way, in the years to come, we will just have so much better society. And that's gonna be it for today's video. My name is Mitz. If you like this content, please subscribe to my channel and like this video. Comment below what you think. What do you think about this concept, this whole reality creation? And yeah, I'd really love to discuss this topic. And yeah, see you in the next one. Peace out.